I want to start with, I recently wrote a marketing checklist. So I want to start with that checklist just to give you an idea of all the things we're going to cover today. And I also put costs on it. So you can say, okay, how much do I need a budget for marketing? And I think it's going to surprise you how much you need a budget. Not a lot. It's really not a lot of money to do marketing. Everyone thinks, when they think of marketing, they think of advertising. Advertising is one specific tactic of marketing. And honestly, in my opinion, it's not the most important one. In fact, there's study after study showing some advertising, or most advertising, is like completely useless. So it's so much more about brand awareness, and creative ideas than it is about spending money. Because if you spend money before you have your fundamentals in place, you're just wasting money. So to start off, we're going to talk about creating a marketing persona. We're going to go into identifying your brand. Like you just started and you already have a great T-shirt with Warrior Network Solutions. That's great. It's a great idea of knowing what you look like. All right, so good job there. You want to get a website going right away. Nowadays, getting a website going is as easy as getting a Facebook going, pretty much. So there's no excuse not to have a website. There's no excuse to pay $10,000 to some local company. I love supporting local, but there's no point when you're starting out to spend a lot of money on a website. That's the reality of it. So I'm going to put $100 plus here for a website. Purchase your domain. This is, I don't want to get too technical, but you need to have an address for your website, like warriornetworksolutions.com. That's the domain name. Right, and we're going to get a little bit into that, not too much into it. You want to identify what social media platforms you want to be on. It's going to differ company to company, of course. You need to kind of do research into what you think your business is going to benefit from. Number 6 is probably the most important, and that's content. Like right now I'm recording this because I'm here doing this anyway, so I need to get this content for my marketing website, right? Get a customer relationship manager. This is probably one of the most important and easily missed items. A customer relationship manager, we're going to get into. It helps you keep track of leads, helps you keep track of current customers, and also has a lot of other good features that you need to have in place. And again, there's plenty of free options for this. Google My Business. There was a recent study showing that over half of companies, over half of businesses that have a Google My Business, and we'll get into what that is, have not claimed it. So there might be people leaving reviews on that, they might be asking questions on that, and no one can respond to that because no one technically owns or manages the Google My Business. There's a Bing equivalent, although Bing is only about 3% of search right now. It might be good to go ahead and get into that early. So also no Apple equivalent, but I know nothing about Mac. I don't know if you're like me, but Windows only.
No, I'm an Apple guy.
Oh, you are? Do you support Apple?
I do.
Okay. I might need your card because I'm a managed service provider as well.
Okay.
And we don't do any Apple. We don't do any Mac, so I can send them your way.
Okay.
The other big thing, this is probably the most important thing for search algorithms, is get positive reviews. Super duper easy to do this, and I'll show you exactly a really quick and easy way to do it as well. Evaluate your competitors. Like for instance, Warrior Network Solutions may want to be looking at Alltech Services' website and social media and say, hey, what are the bigger guys in the area doing and how are they doing it? And then of course you want to have a unique selling proposition. We have a whole slide on this as well. So any questions before we start diving in? All right, let's get going. So the first thing, and honestly this is so important and often missed, is you need to know your marketing persona. Marketing persona is you're visualizing the person that you want to serve. You don't have to have just one, have multiple, but you need to understand who that person is and what they care about. Here's a great example. I help marketing with a window and door company locally, Polk County Window and Door, great company. And we were setting up Google My Business, and I was like, well, do we put effort into Bing places? It only has 3% of search. Do we put any effort in this? Then we started looking at who their customer is, right? And their customer is someone who is typically 60 plus, and maybe retired, and has a little bit of extra income coming in. So when I looked at who's that 3% on Bing, it's almost all elderly people, right? So it may only be 3% of people, but that's the people we need to target. So if we didn't have the insight of who our marketing persona is, we wouldn't have been able to make a marketing decision like that. Hey, we actually need to be putting a lot of effort into this. Because as Bing grows, well, guess who else is growing? Our marketing persona in that area. So we need to put more effort than the other guys in that realm. I'm not saying we don't need to put effort in all the other things, but now we know where the attention needs to go, right? So that's a good example. Hi, by the way, I'm Taher.
Hi.
Thanks for joining. What's your name and business?
Kelly Fisher.
Awesome, cool. So anyway, that's why marketing persona is super important, because you need to know who you're selling to. Because if you're trying to communicate everything, no one's going to listen. But if you're communicating something specific to a specific person, that person's going to listen. And I have a great example of that. Step 2, people are going to, there might be mixed reviews on this one, but I like to just say, go ahead and know what you look like pretty early on. Like, you know, work with a local professional. I work with Sarah at Your Visual Storyteller. She does all my graphic design stuff. Have them do a logo, have them do a brand guide, have them do kind of, you know, shirts, what you look like. Because you want to know what you look like. Because you want to start making an impression, but it needs to be something that people can remember. So these are examples of Taher videography. I also have just like Maurice, this has always been a side gig for me. I did have to get an LLC recently for one client that required it, but I'd prefer this to just be a small thing that I do for friends and family. But I was like, all right, let me get a logo. So this is a logo we recently got going. And then Chiefs Floor Care is another company I help with marketing, and this is their logo, which I love. Like, it's awesome. He's Indian and he cleans floors, so it's like, all right, I love it. So get to know what you look like pretty early. You can work with a local designer, and then one thing, every graphic designer is going to hate me for saying this, but Fiverr is an option to use. Maurice is laughing at me. Sorry, Maurice. I don't know if it's a good thing or bad thing, but
it's definitely a good thing. I use them all the time. I mean, it's definitely a great resource.
Yeah, I use them all the time too. You're working with freelancers from around the world. Like, I always like supporting local, like supporting USA, but at the same time, if you're just getting started and you're really, strapped on budget, don't wait until you can afford stuff. Go ahead and do what you can afford now, and then, as you grow and get more income, you can hire more, local, maybe more talented people. So Fiverr is a good resource, and there's a page at the end that has all the websites I'm going to talk about in this presentation. Next one up is get a website. This is super duper important. A website needs to be your resume. It needs to be your hub. So when people land on it, they need to see kind of, what you do, who you are, and build trust pretty early. There's a few ways to get a website. You can hire someone local to build you a really nice custom website where they consider search engine optimization and really user experience and all that good stuff. That's great. It's going to be very expensive, so don't start with that. I mean, that's my recommendation. Again, a lot of website companies are going to hate me for saying that, but that's the reality. If you're just getting started and you're strapped on a budget, don't pay $5,000 for a website. You can always get it updated. You can get it migrated. They can down the road, you can get it exactly how you want it. There's a middle ground. There's services like Wix, which I actually use for Taher Media, and Squarespace, where it's basically drag and drop. You say what you are, there's templates, you can say, yeah, go, and then make the changes as you want. It's very easy to update with pictures, blogs, content, super duper easy. Drawback on this is it's an annual fee, and it can be pretty large. It can be between $200 to $300, depending on what plan you go with. There are free plans too, but then you have like the like Maurice's video.wix.com, so it's not like as professional, but it's free. And then the lowest cost is if you actually want to learn a little bit about website design. WordPress makes it super duper easy nowadays. You can use a website builder like Elementor or Divi. We don't need to get into the technicals of that, but it's just a really low cost way to do it. All right, so definitely have a website. You can watch an hour-long YouTube video and know how to build a website nowadays. What should you do on your website? It needs to be your hub or your resume. Use every avenue possible to drive traffic to it, which we're going to talk about a little more in depth. But social media, you need to make sure you link to your website. You want to offer your blogs, articles, or value to other organizations. For instance, I just wrote this marketing checklist. Well, I sent that to Emerge, who's an affiliate of Lakeland Chamber. I said, hey, here's a marketing checklist if your members want to use it. Right? So now they're backlinking to your website too, so people visit that link, you're getting more traffic. So just think of creative ways to get your content out. Google indexes your sites. This is how people find you. For instance, if someone searches IT Solutions Lakeland, most likely right now, Alltech is going to come up, but eventually maybe Warrior Network Solutions might come up too. So Google is indexing those keywords and phrases, and they're seeing what the intent is for that person. And they display sites that are relevant to those keywords, right? I mean, that's SEO in a nutshell. They're saying, hey, you're asking Google for a thing, and Google's saying, hey, I've listed these things that I've indexed. I think this might be what you're looking for. It's very difficult to get on the front page for a lot of keywords. But you still want to be creating that content because you can start to rank for longer form keywords. Like instead of IT Support Solutions Lakeland, maybe someone types in OneDrive help on Mac, right? That probably is pretty easy. Well, I don't know about pretty easy, but it's easier to rank for than IT support, right? So there's those long form keywords that Google will start to index your site for. So that's why it's important to get your website up early and start building as much content as you can. So Google can see what your website's about and show it to people. So how do you increase your site? You want to get backlinks to your site. Not only does this help people drive traffic to your website, but it builds your domain authority, which means Google trusts you more. For instance, the Lakeland Chamber is a great example. If the Lakeland Chamber links to your website, you already have a high domain authority website linking to yours. Google is going to trust you more than the other videographer or food tour that doesn't have a backlink from a high domain authority website. Does that make sense? I don't want to get too technical, but in the nutshell, the website is like get links to it from high domain authority websites, not spam websites. Make sure you're creating content around specific keywords. You don't want to keyword stuff, but just answer questions that are being asked. And this is a very, very deep topic, to be honest. So I'm trying to stay at the high level. And then you want to fix any errors on your site. We'll get into how you find those. And then make sure that your website is engaging. You don't want it to be like boring. You don't want it to be too short. You want people to enjoy the experience, and then you want them to go to other pages. You don't want to just have a one-pager. I actually just read this blog recently, even though it's been on this PowerPoint forever. This is an in-depth article by Neil Patel. I highly recommend everyone reading this. It'll take you maybe 45 minutes to read it, and you'll know a lot about how websites rank. And again, I'll send this presentation out. Purchase your domain. I'm going to kind of skip over this, but when you get a website going, you're going to have to connect a domain. There's tons and tons of places to buy a domain. I use SiteGround to host my websites, and so I buy my domains through SiteGround. But if you guys use a service like Wix, for instance, Wix just has a purchase your domain option through Wix, and I think they use like register.com or something. Wix makes everything very easy. They're like, hey, we can do all this stuff for you, As I get more mature in marketing, I'm starting to realize that's not really what I want, but you'll probably, start with something simpler like that, and then as you get more experienced, you may go to like WordPress and doing things a little more manual. All right, any questions so far? I know I'm going through it kind of quick, but there is a lot to cover. There will be a recording of this. I'll have a recording on my website, and then I'll send the presentation out. So don't worry, there's going to be plenty of ways to look back on this. All right, let's keep moving. Social media is important. I don't want to undervalue social media. We have gotten leads from social media. Social media is more about what you're doing and who you are than it is about lead generation. Like you want people, if they land on your Facebook, to know you got good following and you're posting regularly. So you need to identify which platforms are right for you. It would take forever for me to get into this for each business, but it's important to consider which ones you're going to be on. My typical recommendation is just be on a few when you're getting started. Don't try and be on all of them because it's going to spread you too thin. You're just going to not be consistent with posting. So for instance, YouTube is going to be huge for Maurice, right? He wants to show his videos in the highest quality, which YouTube allows. It allows 4K. It allows 60 extra frames per second. Whereas Facebook a lot of times is going to condense that video. So he's going to be posting on Facebook too, but his portfolio is going to probably be on his website and YouTube. And TikTok, right, Maurice? Just kidding. I'm like, oh, another thing, great. Marketing, that's the one thing about marketing. It's changing as fast as IT sometimes. And IT, most likely you're business-to-business managed services, right? So you're probably not going to have an Instagram. You might. Do you?
No, not yet.
No.
I haven't done any social media yet.
Okay. You're probably not going to be an Instagram because Instagram is almost strictly business to consumer.
Right.
But LinkedIn is probably a good place for you to be, business to business. Although nowadays it seems like LinkedIn's more like salespeople than actual owners, and owners are starting to get fed up with it. So there is that shift happening. But Facebook's good too, So I don't want to stay on this too long, but just make sure you identify your platforms. what should you post? I have some examples of this, but business updates, any specials you have going on, industry tips, like I post all tech tips, like technology tips all the time. Social proof, we'll get into social proof. Going live does pretty well, and any PR or print as well. There are contests that work well in the business to consumer marketing. So Amada, that's probably really good for you. Hey, like our page and you win a free food and drink tour on us, kind of thing, right? So those things are going to do pretty good for business to consumer. Business to business, not so much. So this specific example has been in this presentation since I started doing it, just because I love this example. It's a perfect example of how a business uses social media advertising very, very well. 300,000 are jammed on I-95. So right off the bat, it's geo-targeted. They're targeting a very specific geographic location around I-95 because they want to get your attention. And so I'm already paying attention because it's specific to me. Smart move. And it's like black and gray. It's just like, ugh, this sucks. And I'm like, I agree, this sucks. I'm listening. While 137 people are diving with sharks. They have an individual that's around my age, male. Now it's in full color, 137 people, so there's that like, wow, this is kind of exclusive. Now you really got my attention. You geo-targeted me, you're talking to the right person. So WYD right now, which as the millennials know means what you doing. So there's a few things I know right out of this advertising, which I love. They're geo-targeting it. They're making it exclusive, and they're targeting by age, and they're targeting by age because on the third one they're talking like me. This ad did not go to anyone over probably 30 years old, guarantee it, because then they're like, oh, well, I don't know that marketing persona, I may not care or know what WYD is, but I know that 20 to 30 range is gonna like it because we're talking like them. There was a lot of discussion on this advertising from this business. The most important part of any advertising is the last, call to action. So they got my attention, they made it very enticing, and then at the very end, they said, swipe up to start your weekend adventure. So they have a call to action. Without a call to action, you might as well be throwing money away. You have to ask or request something from the person looking at it. So this was from Royal Caribbean, really smart move. Obviously this was a long time ago because I don't think Royal Caribbean's doing much right now. But I just wanted to provide this example, and as you can see, it's just really well targeted, which is what advertising has to be. But we're not really going to talk advertising because that's after you build the fundamentals, and today we're just trying to build the fundamentals. Here are some examples of local businesses that that you may want to, not businesses and organizations. True Builders has some of the best marketing that I've seen. I've never used them. I don't know if they're actually a good company, but I know their marketing is on point. So I'm assuming they're a good company. But I know whoever's doing their marketing needs a raise because, everyone here has probably heard of True, right? True Aluminum, True Builders, True Roofers, True. So look at what they're doing. They might not be in your industry, but they're doing a lot of video. The website looks good and clean. Grace City Church is actually my church. I love their marketing. It's multifaceted. It does video. They have their own soundtracks. They're constantly updating with really good content. It's a content monster. And a lot of it is, I believe, interns that are helping because they want to get some experience, and they get a lot of experience in all types of marketing facets. So look at those two if you want some inspiration on marketing. So the next step, once you have your website, once you know what you look like, once you have the fundamentals going, is you want to create content. Content. Now, content is not always easy to come up with, especially because people just want to post like selfies of themselves. That's not really content. You want to provide something that you know your marketing persona is going to get value out of or humor out of. So we are constantly trying to create content. We have our technicians constantly pitching us ideas. Anytime we do something unique or different, I try and get as much photo and video as possible. Videography, Maurice is going to hate me for saying this, and I'm probably going to hate me for saying this, but Everyone nowadays has a 1080p or 4K camera in their pocket. We're also good at using it because of social media. You don't need to hire a professional videographer like Maurice and me when you're first getting started. That's the reality of it. Use your phone, get some nice videos or some nice photos, send it to Fiverr to get, edited or whatever. And then as you know what you need and as you know what your marketing persona wants, that's when you hire a videographer. Because eventually you're going to need that for your business. You're going to need a more professional look. But as you get going, you don't want to churn through the bank too quick. So start easy, make sure you know what you're doing, make sure you know what content looks like, and then start outsourcing locally to more professional individuals. So that would be my advice. Maurice, any input on that?
Yeah, that's definitely a great idea. So what I've done to kind of curb that, I also do a lot of editing for people. So I have there's a competition called the Connolly for the Military going on right now, and I'm literally they shot everything with cell phones, and they sent it to me and they said make this cinematic and we want to win, and I'm actually going to be sending out the final video between today and tomorrow.
Nice.
But it's definitely coming along.
Yeah, but it just goes to show how creative people can be when they're strapped on a budget sometimes. Like I had no marketing budget for like the first 2 years. We were a really small business, so I just got as creative as I could. But now I do hire professional graphic designers. I do help have I do the video, but there's other marketing aspects that I hire out for because now I can afford it and the owner knows it works. All right, moving on. So here's some examples of content. We did actually a calendar recently that we only sent out to customers. So this is like that exclusive, hey, if you're a customer of us, you get a custom all-tech calendar. We spent probably 40 hours over a month working on this. It was a huge endeavor, honestly. And it's only going to customers. This isn't even prospect marketing. This is client marketing, right? But they loved it. They absolutely loved this calendar. Every time I'm on a call with a customer, like, oh, I got my calendar hanging up. I'm not expecting leads from this, but I'm expecting client retention, which is to me just as valuable. If someone's bringing you a couple $1,000s a month and you're chasing the next client to give you a couple $1,000s a month, then you're probably neglecting that one. And if you get this one, you lose that one, what's the benefit? So anyways, marketing is more than just trying to get new clients. We recently had a client or employee win the Core Value Award nomination. We got that on social media. People headlines and stuff like this, once a person knows your brand, is super effective, right? They want to see what's going on with your people. So those always perform really well on our LinkedIn. We did Office Space is one of my favorite movies of all time, and they beat up a printer. So like in IT, it's like, yeah, we get it. Like sometimes you want to beat up the printer. So we did a full video of the guys, it was a scene for scene reenactment of that Office Space video. Do you know how long that took me? Maybe 30 minutes to film and like an hour of editing. So in an hour and a half, now we got a video that people love. They love it. And now I can use it in other facets. So just an example of content related to your organization. We got a client that sent a box of cookies for Christmas to us. And I just thought it'd be fun if we like made it look like they were looking into heaven or something. So they loved that. I just sent it to the client, posted on social media, just fun things like that. We did a Star Wars parody video, which, I like it. It didn't get that much attention, which I was like annoyed about because I don't think I ever spent so much time on a video before. Like I learned all about After Effects and Premiere Pro, and like we did this legit like Star Wars battle, and it got like 100 views. I was like, damn it. Anyway, so please watch it so I can feel good about myself. One thing we did recently that went over really well is get to know your account manager. So I'm also one of the account managers at Alltech. So we sent it out to our accounts, and I had our other account manager. We did a video with her, and we sent it out to her accounts. It was just like a 3-minute video, like, hey, get to know your account manager. This is who you reach out to for these types of things. There's that little extra touch that people like. It's just my son wearing an Alltech hat. He's so cute. All right, moving on. This was a interview with one of our clients. So you want to do video testimonials. That's one of the most important videos. Like, hey, tell us how they're doing, right? All right, so those are just examples of content. Feel free to send me an email if you like if you want to brainstorm a little bit, I'd be happy to help for your specific business. So we're running kind of short on time, so I'm going to try and get through this relatively quickly. Get a customer relationship manager. When you're first starting out, I recommend HubSpot. I don't know if y'all know what HubSpot is, but it's amazing. Like, it's amazing. And it's free. So HubSpot allows you to, for instance, when you get a lead coming in, where do people track leads right now when they come in? Do you just write it down on a piece of paper? Do you like put it in your calendar or something? It's usually people just write it down. But then it's like, okay, well, how do we convert them from a lead to a customer if they don't buy right now? So a CRM helps to nurture those people. Hey, these are the things we're doing. These are some specials we have going on, etc. So you really want to have a CRM very early on into your business. The other thing about HubSpot is you can tag people, like if they were interested in maybe commercial dumpster or rather than residential dumpster, so that way you know what kind of content to send them and to follow up on. It's very good for a sales team when you get a sales team. You can schedule email campaigns such as a newsletter, which is super important. When someone fills out, this is pretty cool, when someone fills out a contact form on your website, it'll tell you their buying journey or their conversion journey. So it'll say, hey, they got on the website from this blog, or they got on the website from this page. This is what they did on the website, and then they filled out the contact form. So you'd be like, okay, I see I'm getting a lot of attention on this page. Maybe I like add a video to this page, or maybe I, refine this page, or maybe I leave it the way it is because it's working, right? So that data is super duper important. And HubSpot does all that for free. There's a paid version that's even more robust, but just getting started out, I'd recommend HubSpot. Love it. The other thing it can do is you can actually set up a live chat on your website. There's tons and tons and tons of ways to get live chats on websites nowadays. You definitely need to have live chat on your website. If you don't, make sure you do. Super low-hanging fruit, super cheap, and you can respond right away. The reality is you want to kind of have as minimal barriers as possible to getting a lead in. They might not be a good lead, but you'll find that out pretty quickly. But you'd rather have that conversation than not. Okay, moving on. This is super duper important and often missed. This works better if you have a physical address. You want to set up Google My Business. You have to set up Google My Business. Here's an example. If anyone wants to search video, hello, how's it going? If anyone wants to search videography Lakeland right now, let me know if Taher Videography comes up. So, what was your name again?
Janard.
Janari?
Janard.
Janard?
Yeah.
That's a cool name. Would you mind searching videography Lakeland?
Yeah.
Or videographer Lakeland? Or something? Do you see the map pack?
I see you're in the top 3.
What's that?
I see that you're in the top 3.
I am?
Yep, I see Storybook Weddings, True View LLC, and then Taher Video LLC.
Oh my God. Okay. Thank you, Maurice. Thank you. That's crazy to me because I set up my business less than a month ago.
Wow.
Less than a month ago. But you know what I did? I set up my Google My Business immediately, and I reached out to everyone I know to give me a 5-star review. So Maurice, you need to do that, right? Well, we all need to do that. And this is the crazy part. This is so crazy. Google prefers if you have a physical location. I don't have a physical location. Alltech does. So when you search IT support, we're also going to come up on the first page, but I don't have a physical location. I just used my home address and said, hey, I service Polk County. But no one's doing Google My Business. No one's setting up Google My Business, even though it's like the most important thing for local SEO. And this is a great example. 1 month in. Now, that's kind of troublesome because I don't want to get a lot of leads for videography because I'm too busy with Alltech. But, maybe I'll just hire Maurice if I get leads.
Yep, you can just send them to
Yeah, I'll just say, hey, I got a guy. Perfect. So make sure you set up Google My Business. And I actually, yes.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
So, I'm asking video testimonials for my clients.
Perfect.
And most of them said, okay, I'm sending, but never send. And
Yep.
then 3 weeks later, I asked it again. Yes,
Yep.
2 days ago, I asked it again. And I sent the link for the Google review.
Yep.
So one of them, the same time, no, I prefer to do that than send the video. And then So my question is, when do I have to like stop to ask? Because
That's a good question.
yeah, because many people say, okay, I will do, I will
Yeah,
send,
yeah.
and never send.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, that is.
And then now I'm using the strategy to send the Google review.
Yeah, the review form, which I have a picture of that. You're sending the actual Google review form?
Because Google My Business has the link.
Yep.
And then I'm sending the
Yep,
link
perfect.
and inviting them
Perfect.
to do the review.
Yeah, so we're going to get into the review form. So that's a great question, and one of the biggest hurdles to reviews, even if a customer loves you. So we actually have a whole section on reviews, but even if a customer loves you, they're never going to ever write you a positive review unless you ask, pretty much. That's not always the case, but that's usually the case. So you have to be exactly like you're doing. You have to be proactive and ask. They're still probably not going to do it. That's the reality.
Yeah.
So I would say, every quarter follow up, but don't like ask them and then a week later ask them again. Maybe once a quarter. Be like, hey, were you able to do that for me? The other thing on the video testimonial, see if you can show up. Be like, hey, do you mind if I just show up? Or maybe just go visit them at their office and be like, oh, hey, do you mind if we get that video real quick? You have your phone ready to go. Like, make it as easy as possible for them.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, that's a struggle. It's a struggle for our business. We have 120 clients, and I only have 25 Google reviews, right? Even though I know every one of our clients love us.
Yes.
So, and I've only been able to get 5 video testimonials for being there for 5 years. That's one a year. That's terrible, but it's just a challenge. People are busy.
Yeah.
So you're doing the right things. So keep at it.
Can you do promotions around that, like saying, hey, give us a review, and everybody who does gets entered or something?
So you can, but it's frowned upon, and you can get penalized for it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I definitely don't recommend that. It's got to be one of those altruistic things for them to do. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't have to be, but Google frowns upon that. They're probably never going to find out. But
Well, that's good enough.
yeah, that's a good question.
And do you think it's a good thing, like, for example, they are not sending the videos, but they are doing the Google review? And then I thought to do like a screenshot and post on the social media, the testimonial, as a testimonial. Do you think it's a good
Oh, yeah.
idea to do that?
So you mean if they write a testimonial on like
Because I'm asking the video, okay? I'm not receiving yet. But I received one review on Google My Business.
Yeah.
So I thought to take the screenshot and post on my social medias. Like client testimonial from Google Business or something like that,
Yeah, I mean that's totally fine to do that. I did that on one of my videos where I just showed like examples of testimonials, and it was just like the snapshots of Google My Business. So yeah, I mean, get creative with it. That's totally fine. And if they're posted on Google My Business, they're letting you know you can use it for whatever you want, right? It's public at that point.
Okay.
They also don't care because they're your customer. So yeah, that's a good way to do it. So back, on the reviews, this is a section on reviews. I got about 7 minutes, so I'm going to try and get through this pretty quickly. There is a review form. So I really recommend going to tahermedia.com. It's my marketing website. I post blogs like this on a weekly basis. And my goal with the blog is to be as actionable as possible. I can't stand when people post blogs and they're like, marketing's all about being creative. And it's like, okay, that's not helpful, right? Like I need actionable steps I can take to improve my marketing, like the Google My Business. So go to Taher Media, just follow the blog. I'm not selling anything in these things. I'm just trying to provide value. My main gig is an IT support company. I'm the sales guy there. That's my main gig. I do marketing there, so I know a lot about it. But I'm happy to share that with other people, right? So that's what the blog's all about. Highly recommend doing that because we go in each one of these slides, I'm going to have a more in-depth blog article on, such as SEO. It's a huge, huge thing. But anyway, there is a form on Google My Business. It says, get more reviews. You can click on that, copy that, and send it to people. And when they click on that, it goes right to the review page. They don't have to search anything. They don't have to look at anything. You can text it to them. That's how I'm getting my reviews. And be specific. Say 5-star review. Be specific. I mean, they're going to give you a 5-star review, but just like let them know, like, hey, if you're not going to do 5-star, like, I don't want it. 4 stars can go away. 3 stars can go away. 1 star, what happened? How do I respond to this? You really need to dive into the free tools when you get a website. Google Analytics shows you how many people are actually visiting your website, and it's totally free. So you need to look at how are people visiting your website. It'll give you insights such as, hey, this page, there's a lot of people bouncing on. So like this isn't a good page, or you need to refine it so people stop jumping on it and then jumping off the website. It's getting them out of there. So there's tons and tons of insight in Google Analytics. So just get that set up as soon as you get a website set up. Super duper easy to do. I'll have a video of that on Taher Media too, so you can just dive in. Google Search Console, this is super duper important. It's a little more advanced, but it basically tells you how are people finding your website. So as your website gets more mature, you're going to find out, okay, so my website is showing up when people search IT support Lakeland or IT support near me, right? So my business is showing up, but it'll show you what page you're on. So it's like, okay, cool, I'm on the 10th page. So like no one's ever going to see this. So how do I incrementally improve this rank? AdWords is if you're ever getting to advertising. And then there's a whole blog on the other tools that are out there, including Keyword Planner, which is really good for when you're just getting a business started. Again, I don't want to get too in depth. This is a fundamentals course. But a Keyword Planner shows you, like, if you type in garbage cleaning near me or garbage cleaning or whatever, it'll give you like, hey, this is all the things that people are searching in your area. It'll literally tell you all of them. And it'll say, this is how much people are searching, and this is the competition. So you want to go for those low, medium competition when you're first getting started. All right, I'm going to quickly get through this. Again, I don't want to talk too much about paid advertising, but there's a lot of different ways to do it. I'm going to have a whole section on my website about paid advertising if y'all want to look at that. But there's a few ways to do it, including Google pay-per-click, remarketing through social media and Google. Remarketing is when they land on your website, they go away and they get ads. Not the most effective advertising. Like, I don't think we ever got a lead from it, but it just keeps your logo and business top of mind. It can be a little annoying at times, so you want to make sure it doesn't follow them for more than like a couple weeks, because then it's like, all right, we get it. And then social media advertising, of course, we've all heard about that. Public relations, so this is we were recently in the newspaper, and the reason we were in the newspaper is not because we're just an awesome company and people are like, oh, these people are awesome, I want to, look at them. What I did is I pitched this story to people. So I reached out to the Ledger, I said, hey, cybersecurity is a big issue in Lakeland right now. People are getting hit with ransomware. This is what they need to do. If I didn't pitch that, we wouldn't have been featured in the newspaper. So as you're doing cool things, don't think people are just going to find out about it. If it's really cool, pitch it to a media source, such as the Ledger, LAL Today. There's lots and lots of organizations that need content. So like what I did is I basically wrote the article for them and I sent it to them. I was like, here, you can publish it. And then they did. I mean, they tweaked it and refined it, but that's how PR works. It's not like people aren't going to find you. You need them to find you. You need to help them find you. All right.
There's also a lot of small magazines that are always looking for content. So if you're doing anything cool,
yep.
That's the great place to go. Because like you have Haven magazine, and it's called like the Haven Lakeland magazine.
Yep.
And I don't know what's going on with the Lakeland.
It might be cool to have like a section on your website or something like, hey, these are local sources you can reach out to or something. Or maybe I can do that on mine. But yeah, that seems like it'd be pretty valuable to know who to reach out to and who the contact is. Because these people, like, they want you reaching out to them. They might not publish it, but at least you're giving them options. Okay, almost done. Thanks for bearing with me here, guys. I'm not going to go through this, but here's an example of all tech services lead generation and client retention strategy, pretty much all the tactics we use in each phase. I probably shouldn't be giving this to you. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just joking. And then, I spoiled it. This is the last slide. One of the things on the checklist is making sure you have a unique selling proposition. So I was in Bangkok a couple years ago when we could all travel, and it was pretty amazing. It's like Mad Max basically, but we went on a street that had a bunch of food vendors, right? Like a dozen of them. They were all serving pretty much the same food. I tried a bunch of them. They were all delicious. They were amazing. But one of the vendors had this super long line. There was like 24 people there. So I'm like, all right, I got to eat this food. Like, this food must be way better than the rest of the food. Well, I wait in line for a long time. I get to the food, and I notice when I get there, the lady's wearing a cowboy hat. She's wearing a cowboy hat. I get my food. She's very sweet. She didn't make any awesome jokes that made me want to come back or anything like that. I ate the food, and that's when it dawned on me. Her food wasn't any better than anyone else's on that street, but she was different. She was wearing a cowboy hat. So it's something as simple as that can make your business different. It doesn't have to even enhance your business, like what you're selling, but it has to make you memorable. And in Bangkok, lady wearing a cowboy hat, it's pretty memorable. So she gets tons and tons of business because she did that. And now no one else can wear a cowboy hat. Like she did it. If anyone else does it, it's going to be pretty lame. It might take a little bit, but she was the market leader in that.
There's a guy here in town also called Jared, his name's Jared Lakeland.
Yep.
He is known as the purple guy.
Yep.
He does realty, but like his car is purple and his shirts are always purple and his pins are purple and everything he does is purple. Everywhere you see him, if he's wearing a suit, there's minimally a purple tie. Like wherever he is, tablecloth in his booth, flags, whatever he has is purple.
Yep.
And he's known by that.
Yep.
And everybody knows him that he's like the purple guy. Like,
Yeah. On social media, hashtag, what is it? It's like hashtag purple, but it's, purple approved or something like
Yeah.
that. So I actually talked to him about this specific point. I was like, I mentioned Jared. I'm like, I mention you in these because that's your thing. It doesn't enhance his service that he's the purple guy, but it sticks. And I'm not saying this is an easy thing. This is super duper hard. Like it's very hard to find a creative way to stand out and find your unique selling proposition. But you need to do it. Like for instance, Chief's Floor Care, he's just getting started. He cleans floors, right? Everyone cleans floors. They're using the same cleaning, they're using the same stuff. So I was like, you need to leave behind a spot cleaner with your logo on it. Like leave behind something every time. It's gonna cost you what, $1, $1.50? But now they've got a thing from you, so when they need to, get their carpets cleaned again, they're gonna remember that. They're gonna remember that little thing that they got from you. And the reason I came up with that idea is Precision Garage Door fixed my garage like a year ago. My garage door was having another issue. I don't even remember who I talked to. I didn't even remember who they were. I was about to Google garage door again. But then I remembered he left a spray can to grease up the rollers or whatever. So I went and found that grease sand, and they got another $1,000 business out of me. If they didn't leave that behind, I would have used a different company. So find your cowboy hat.